I've heard you say this is the tip of the iceberg.
Yes, I'm sure it's the tip. I mean, all the things... I mean, I spent 4 years researching this book, but I mean, even so, it's only the testimony of the people I found, and I only had 300 people out of 3,000 people that I identified and approached. And we have clearly some legal depositions, we have some cuts. But,
For months, the palace has been trying desperately to move the spotlight away from Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. Fewer statements and appearances. Less said, the better. And yet, just days ago, Andrew and Sarah Ferguson quietly stepped out together for the first time since the humiliation of losing their remaining royal titles and honours. No balcony, no smiles. Just a low-key appearance at their granddaughter's christening, followed by a very noticeable absence from what came next. Because while other family members went on to the pub for a relaxed celebration, Andrew and Sarah did not join them. They left early. And that detail has not gone unnoticed. At the very moment they are trying to present a picture of dignity and normality, a new wave of deeply uncomfortable allegations about Andrew's behaviour behind palace doors is circulating again. Stories of shouting, punishment rituals, staff reduced to tears, and demands so bizarre that even long-serving royal aides were reportedly stunned. This is not ancient history resurfacing for no reason. It is part of a much larger reckoning that the palace can no longer fully control. That recent appearance was meant to be quiet, private, almost forgettable. But instead, it has reignited scrutiny. Because when a disgraced royal who has been stripped of titles suddenly reappears in public, people look closer. They ask questions. And they revisit the allegations that never truly went away. A large part of this renewed scrutiny comes from Andrew Lownie's book entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York. Even weeks on, it has not faded from the conversation, largely because the allegations are backed up by people who were inside the system and saw Andrew's behaviour firsthand. According to Lownie, Andrew was intensely preoccupied with hierarchy and obedience. Staff allege that he insisted on being bowed to whenever he entered a room. If someone failed to do so correctly, he would reportedly say, "Let us try that again," before leaving and re-entering, forcing the ritual to be repeated. Sources say this was not playful. It was a form of control. The book also details Andrew's alleged temper when protocol was not followed to the letter. Lownie even claims Andrew often had to be restrained during furious arguments with ex-wife Fergie. Other claims are even harder to dismiss as momentary lapses. One aide was allegedly removed from his position because Andrew disliked the appearance of a mole on his face. Another was dismissed for wearing a nylon tie. These decisions, if accurate, were not about standards. They were about personal whim. Staff also described what they called humiliating daily demands. Andrew allegedly required maids to climb 4 flights of stairs every morning to open his bedroom curtains, despite being physically capable of doing so himself. It was about being served, not about necessity. Then there are the incidents that sound almost surreal. A television technician allegedly summoned late at night to explain how a TV remote worked. Police protection officers allegedly tasked with collecting Andrew's used golf balls or finding women. These were not casual helpers. They were highly trained officers funded by the public. What makes all of this especially uncomfortable is the timing. When allegations about Meghan Markle's treatment of staff emerged years ago, Buckingham Palace launched a formal investigation. At the same time, insiders say the palace quietly braced itself for historic complaints about Andrew. According to Lownie, there was genuine fear that long-standing allegations of bullying and profanities would surface. They never did in an official capacity, and that discrepancy continues to raise eyebrows. Today, Andrew's position has weakened even further. He no longer uses royal titles. He carries no official role, and sources say King Charles has reached the end of his patience. The monarchy is under enough pressure without a disgraced brother creating fresh headlines. And yet, Andrew's reappearance at that christening has made one thing clear. He has not vanished. He is still present, still connected, still capable of pulling focus away from the institution at precisely the wrong moment. Behind the scenes, the emotional toll appears to be falling hardest on Sarah Ferguson. Royal commentator Phil Dampier has said that friends are deeply concerned about her mental health. He claims she is close to a breakdown, overwhelmed by the scrutiny and distressed that her daughters are once again being pulled into controversy. What is striking is that Andrew and Sarah reportedly believe they are being punished repeatedly for the same mistakes. Titles are gone, reputation is damaged beyond repair, and still the stories continue. But from the palace's point of view, this is not about punishment. It is about containment. As the year draws to a close, there is little appetite for further scandal. Christmas is approaching, public trust is fragile, and every fresh allegation, every resurfaced story, lands harder than the last. And that context matters even more now because of the recent release of previously unseen photographs linked to Jeffrey Epstein. These images, which have circulated again in the past weeks, show Andrew in Epstein's world, relaxed, familiar, and very much at ease in private settings that many find unsettling given what is now known. While Andrew has consistently denied any wrongdoing, the images have reignited public anger because they reinforce a broader pattern people believe they recognise. A man who, according to former staff, exercised control, demanded obedience, and punished those beneath him, appearing entirely comfortable in environments where power and entitlement went unchecked. For many observers, the photos do not stand alone. They sit alongside years of allegations about behaviour carried out behind closed doors. Commentators have noted that the images do not introduce new allegations on their own, but they visually reinforce long-standing questions about judgement, entitlement, and the company he kept. Several commentors have pointed out that images often have more impact than words, especially when they appear to confirm what former staff have alleged about his sense of power and immunity from consequences. There has also been a noticeable shift in how these images are being discussed in the press. Rather than being treated as historical artifacts from a closed chapter, they are increasingly framed as part of a wider pattern that remains unresolved. Legal experts and royal commentators alike have stressed that while Andrew denies all allegations, the repeated resurfacing of these images keeps the controversy alive because it collides so directly with recent accounts of his private behaviour. In short, the public is no longer separating the man seen in these photographs from the man described by former staff. In many minds, they are now the same person. So when you step back and look at everything together, the question is not about public appearances or formal status. It is about behaviour. It is about how power was exercised in private, how staff say they were treated, and why those accounts are resurfacing now, alongside images that many find deeply uncomfortable. Do these stories finally force a reckoning, or will they fade again as they have before? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want more coverage of the royal stories and updates, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.